Harbor. Get your tickets today.
Good morning, America. New this morning, deadly standoff. A decorated Army veteran being treated for PTSD, taking hostages at a veteran's home in California, armed to the teeth. Police storming in, finding him and 3 employees dead.
This is a tragic piece of news.
The investigation this morning.
Breaking news overnight, killed in the line of duty. Bullets flying on this California street, sounding like a shooting gallery. 2 officers shot, 1 fatally wounded. Fellow officers rushing to help. The crash that started it all.
Meeting conditions. The White House addressing the planned face-to-face between President Trump and North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. And what needs to happen first? This as former Trump campaign aide Sam Nunberg appears before a grand jury looking into Russian meddling.
But I think Vladimir Putin, if you look at it objectively, is really taking advantage of the president.
Speaking to GMA right after that grand jury appearance.
And missing teen, the search for this girl from Pennsylvania. Is she with this man she met at church who signed her out of school without her mother's permission? Where they were last seen.
Live from ABC News in New York, this is Good Morning America.
Hey, good morning, and let's get right to our top story. The breaking news overnight, a fatal ending to a hostage standoff at a massive veterans home in Northern California.
This home servicing veterans suffering from PTSD, and overnight police raided the area where the gunman had taken 3 women hostage. Now, despite attempts to negotiate, they found that all 4 people, including the gunman, were dead.
This morning, we're getting our first look at the victims, a psychologist, a therapist, and the executive director of a nonprofit, all of whom worked at this facility, which is the largest veterans home in the country. They were attending a going-away party for colleagues when the shooter barged in. And this is the man identified as the shooter. His name is Albert Wong. He is a veteran of Afghanistan who had been treated at the facility for PTSD. ABC's Marcy Gonzalez is right there on the scene in Yountville, California. Marcy, good morning.
Paula, Dan, good morning. The scene here is still blocked off. Investigators are now trying to piece together what played out in that room during the day-long standoff and whether the victims were specifically targeted.
This morning, the hostage standoff inside the largest veterans home in America over. Officers finding all 3 women and the man who held them at gunpoint dead.
This is a tragic piece of news, one that we were really hoping we wouldn't have to come before the public to give.
The call first coming in around 10:30 Friday morning. 36-year-old Albert Wong, a former client at the facility that treats veterans with PTSD, armed with a rifle. The decorated former soldier who served a year in Afghanistan opening fire, shooting at a deputy. Walking into a going-away party for one of the center's employees.
There was cake and, a little bit of a celebration, and then this man walked in with a gun. My wife and 3 other women were able to leave.
But 3 other women, all employees, all taken hostage.
Does still have 3 people inside the units. Be advised, he does have a stash of bullets around his neck.
SWAT teams surrounding the building as workers, volunteers, and residents at the sprawling veterans facility evacuated or sheltered in place.
They're safe, but they're not being let out at all until they get the suspect.
Hostage negotiators trying to reach Wong for more than 7 hours, getting no response. Authorities finally making the call around 6 p.m. to move in.
Law enforcement personnel made entry into the room where we felt the hostages were being held by the suspect, and unfortunately made the discovery.
And we're told the deputy involved in that shootout is okay. This morning, investigators are still unsure of Wong's motive. Dan and Paula, back to you.
Marcy, thank you. Many more questions to be answered here. We're going to move now, though, to the state of Florida. We're in the wake of the massacre at that high school in Parkland. The governor has just signed a major new bill to beef up school safety and put in place some gun restrictions.
The National Rifle Association not pleased with the bill. The NRA already has filed a federal lawsuit. ABC's Ariel Reshef is on the story for us this morning. Ariel, good morning.
Good morning, Paul and Dan. Floridians are waking up to new gun laws this morning, less than a month after 17 students and faculty were shot and killed at Stoneman Douglas High School. The Republican governor taking that bold step, and this morning the country's largest gun lobby responding swiftly by suing the state.
3 weeks after those first chilling 911 calls detailed the horrors of one of the deadliest school shootings in American history.
And he said, shot, shot, shot. Mom, God.
Florida Governor Rick Scott, flanked by families affected by the tragedy, signing a sweeping bill to tighten gun laws in his state.
You helped change your state. You made a difference. You should be proud.
The so-called Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Act raises the minimum age to buy a rifle from 18 to 21. Extends a 3-day waiting period for handgun purchase to include long guns, and bans bump stocks which allow guns to mimic automatic fire. For many survivors, the measures don't go far enough.
Our students started the movement to have gun control, to take away that AR-15, and they completely didn't hear the message.
The bill also investing more than $400 million in school safety and mental health. A step forward for anguished families demanding change. But for the Republican governor, a controversial split from the NRA and its 5 million Florida members. This morning, the country's largest gun lobby filing a lawsuit to stop the legislation from taking effect. The organization claiming this blanket ban violates the fundamental rights of thousands of responsible, law-abiding Florida citizens and is thus invalid under the 2nd and 14th Amendments. The signing of the school safety bill coming the same day suspected killer Nicholas Cruz appeared head lowered in a prison jumpsuit before a judge. The 19-year-old held without bond, facing 17 counts of murder and attempted murder.
And the school safety bill also adds a so-called guardian program that enables teachers and other school employees to carry handguns. The Broward County Teachers Union, including some faculty from Stoneman Douglas High School, oppose this idea. The superintendent has been very vocal against it as well.
Certainly controversial. Ariel, thank you very much. And we want to move on now to President Trump's massive diplomatic gamble. His decision to say yes to a high-stakes face-to-face with the North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un.
This morning, the messaging out of the White House somewhat muddled with a suggestion on Friday that there may be new preconditions for this meeting, but the White House now seems to be walking that back. ABC's Mary Bruce is going to sort it out all out for us from the White House this morning. Mary, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan. Yes, some mixed messages coming from this White House this morning. President Trump shocked Washington and the world by agreeing to sit down with North Korea, but then the White House seemed to move the goalposts, suggesting this may not be such a done deal after all.
Less than 24 hours after agreeing to an historic face-to-face meeting with the North Korean dictator, the White House seemed to say, not so fast.
The president will not have the meeting without seeing concrete steps and concrete actions take place by North Korea.
But this morning, White House sources say the agreement has not changed. The president tweeting the deal with North Korea is very much in the making and will be, if completed, a very good one for the world. In order to talk, the White House says North Korea has agreed to stop its missile testing and allow U.S. military exercises with the South.
Look, they've got to follow through on the promises that they've made.
The announcement hasty and surprising. The president popping in the White House briefing room himself to give reporters a heads up. Even his own Secretary of State seemed caught off guard by the invitation.
In all honesty, it came as a little bit of a surprise to us as well.
No sitting U.S. president has ever met with the leader of North Korea, and for much of the past year, a sit-down seemed impossible amid months of escalating tension and trash talk.
Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself.
Trump has called Kim a maniac and a madman. In return, Kim has called Trump mentally deranged and an old lunatic. This morning, the question remains, can they put the name-calling aside and negotiate?
Now, officials here fully expect this meeting to take place sometime between now and the end of May, but the White House has yet to announce exactly when or where this will take place. Dan and Paula.
Mary, thank you. Some critics, as you know, on the left have accused the president of agreeing to sit down with the North Korean dictator, in part as a way to get the news media to focus on something other than the Russia investigation.
But the work of special counsel Robert Mueller, it continues on Friday. Former Trump campaign aide Sam Nunberg appeared before a grand jury. This just days after appearing on a series of cable news shows to declare that he would not be cooperating, but he did. ABC's Tara Palmieri is in Washington, where she spoke to Nunberg. And Tara, good morning.
Good morning, Dan and Paula. That's right. Sam Nunberg spent 5.5 hours testifying before the grand jury. He blew past reporters, but sat down with ABC News for his first interview since meeting with the special counsel.
He's a former campaign aide to then-candidate Trump. Sam Nunberg fired 6 weeks into the presidential campaign. But this morning, special prosecutors in the Russia probe see him as a witness.
I was there a long time, and they have a lot of questions. Did I ever hear Russian spoken in the office? And then they asked about why did President Trump support Putin in Syria?
Did you know of any contacts between the president and Russians, and do you think that shaped his foreign policy?
And I think Vladimir Putin, if you look at it objectively, is really taking advantage of the president.
Appearing before the Mueller grand jury, he spent at least 6 hours testifying about what he knew when it came to Russia's involvement in the 2016 election.
Vladimir Putin, I think we all could agree, wanted Donald Trump to win.
Saying he was grilled about current and former staffers named in the investigation.
I've never worked with anybody that was unethical there. I just never have, okay?
Including political strategist Roger Stone, a close confidant of President Trump, who he calls a mentor. Stone denied any knowledge or involvement in Russian collusion.
Are you worried about him?
Yes, I'm very worried about him.
This comes as Nunberg had a bizarre media blitz.
I'm not cooperating, arrest me.
When he publicly challenged the court-ordered subpoena.
I'm going to be the first one in history to flat out say, I'm not going.
Now, Nunberg walking back that fiery rhetoric, saying the rants were just for show.
People say I had a meltdown on TV. I melted TV down that day. I wanted to show what this independent counsel, this independent investigation, does to people like me.
Also striking a much different tone.
I was going to always comply with arriving today. I'm an attorney. That's the first thing. And this is my duty as an American to do this, whether I like it or not.
Do you think it's a witch hunt?
No, I don't think it's a witch hunt. There's a lot there. And that's a sad truth. I don't believe it leads to the president.
A source close to Nunberg said he's not done testifying. He may be called in as many as 5 times. Dan, Paula?
All right, Tara, and before you go, we want to say welcome to you on your first appearance here on GMA.
Yeah, welcome.
We know that you've been part of the ABC News family since October, joining us from Political, but we just want to say it's great to have you with us, and a big warm welcome from the GMA Weekend family.
Let the hazing process begin.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Tara. Appreciate it. For more on all the political news of this morning, let's bring in another Tara, ABC News contributor and conservative commentator, Tara Setmeyer. Good morning. Thank you for being here. Let's start with Sam Nunberg. Given his performance on all the cable news shows during this week, which some people described as somewhat unhinged, how credible a witness is he for Robert Mueller?
Yeah, the problem is that he put on a spectacle on Monday, which I think hurts his credibility to some degree because you can tell that it's about attention. He's an attention seeker, which is why he engaged in that behavior earlier this week. However, he was close to the president at a time that is of interest to the Mueller investigation, particularly concerning Donald Trump's dealings in Russia during the Miss Universe pageant back in 2013. And prior to that, he said that he's been with Donald Trump since 2011, where he potentially was laying the foundation for this presidential run, and at the same time seeking business in Russia. So just because he was a little unhinged on Monday doesn't mean what he has to say isn't valid, given but I don't think it helped him the way that he handled himself in front of the news cameras all week long. It just lends a little bit of skepticism to why he's doing it, the motivation behind it. Whether he's just being a good citizen or not, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, when push came to shove, though, he was there for the grand jury.
Let's talk about. Want to go to jail?
No, good point. Let's talk about President Trump's possible meeting with Kim Jong-un. New York Times is reporting even some of the closest aides in the White House are skeptical that this is going to happen. What do you think?
Well, they should be. The way that this was rolled out, this kind of improvisational diplomacy, is not how you do things when you're dealing with something as significant as North Korea. The North Koreans have been looking for legitimacy on the world stage for decades. They have pulled stunts like this, acting as though they want to talk and they want to have some type of diplomatic relations, but then they go ahead and they violate any of those agreements and they move forward with their nuclear program. So the president making this decision like this, which seemingly was something that was ill-advised by his advisors, those of them that knew about it, it makes this a real heavy lift to be this prepared. The level of preparation to have talks at this level in a couple of weeks from now just seems unrealistic. So I think it's a little bit less than a 50-50 chance it actually does happen because, you know, Kim Jong-un got what he wanted. He already got an answer so quickly from the president of the United States. So if there's any hedging at that point, he can turn around and say, well, I didn't change the terms, the president of the United States did. And those are pitfalls that I think the foreign policy community and our diplomats don't want to see the President of the United States or America fall into dealing with the North Koreans as we have in the past.
It would be history in the making.
It would be. It would be a great success.
Yeah, great to have you.
It happens.
Thanks, Tara. And we do want to move on now to the search for a 16-year-old Pennsylvania girl who disappeared on Monday. This morning, federal agents joining the hunt.
Now, police say they're looking into her relationship with a married man who checked her out of school 10 times. ABC's Eva Pilgrim has the story.
This morning, an urgent search for a missing Allentown teen and a 45-year-old man. The two last seen on Monday.
Please, God and God, help me to bring her back.
Mo Lu says her daughter, 16-year-old Amy Yu, met Kevin Esterly at church and was friends with his oldest daughter. In early February, Amy's mother first discovered Esterly had signed her daughter out of school early and called police. Something police say he did 10 times between November and February without her mother's permission.
Just a plain nice guy that tries to help Amy, but not anymore. Now I think that he's a very bad guy.
The Lehigh Valley Charter School CEO confirming he signed her out, but saying a student can be picked up only by someone on the emergency contact list that is provided by the parents. Investigators saying that Amy changed that list, including Esterly as her stepfather, making it possible for him to sign her out.
They've now been gone for a number of days with no sighting. The presumption is that they're going to be on the move and go outside the state.
Esterly's wife reporting to police he withdrew $4,000 from her account the morning he disappeared. Police think the two could be traveling in his red Honda Accord with Pennsylvania license plate.
Now, Esterly is facing serious charges for interference with custody of children. This is similar to the charges we've seen with those other two cases that we have followed.
Serious charges indeed. Eva, thank you very
Thanks,
much. Really
Eva.
appreciate it. It's time to check the weather now. Rob Marciano is out, but we are very lucky and very pleased to have Sam Champion filling in for a couple weeks. Hello, sir. Good morning.
Hello, sir. Hello, Paula. Hello, everyone. Let's get to the boards. We've got a lot going on this morning. You're going to notice right away this lake effect snow, these bands of clouds and snow coming off the Great Lakes. 4 of the 5 lakes have thawed a bit, now in warmer temperatures, so lake effect snow machine is on as this cold air comes out of Canada. The other thing going on today, look at that area of storms. This could be an area of strong to severe storms, and there's some heavy rain as this low moves all the way across the deep south. So everybody along the deep south gets a hit of rain, 1 to 3 inches of rain out of this. Now, here's where we talk about the next nor'easter. This could be the third one of the month. If it runs the pattern closer to the coastline, we get snow, we get wind Monday night into Tuesday in the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. There's another opportunity, the models have not gotten into agreement yet, that it goes a little bit further offshore. That would mean that it's too far away for us to get snow and wind. Remember, this storm hasn't put itself together yet. It's the low that's in Texas today. We'll probably have a little bit better knowledge on it by the time we get to Sunday night. That's the weather around the nation. Here's what you can expect this morning.
For the Rock and Roll Marathon this morning, racers bundle up. Start temperature of 33 degrees. We will start to build into the mid to upper 40s for a daytime high today. Get outside and enjoy the bright sunshine under partly sunny skies through much of the day tomorrow. Expecting an increase in cloud cover throughout the later half of the day, and notice our daytime highs in the mid 40s. We are tracking our next potential system, a close call for D.C., but should be very low impact for the Monday morning commute.
Everybody wants to know whether there's a third storm or not. We'll talk rain on the West Coast in the next half hour.
Well, you know, I just want to say something about you and these continuing storms we've been having in the north. So what happens is that Sam tells us we're going to have a storm, and then he decamps to Florida and then posts pictures on Instagram of himself at the pool. There's one right there. As a matter of
that's
fact.
not, okay.
Yes, he's at the pool talking about the nor'easters, and the word for that in German is Schadenfreude,
No,
enjoying our suffering.
He's just giving us hope that the sun still exists.
I'm covering.
Yes, you
Where
are.
are you going to be Monday?
Florida.
Florida.
Instagram.
Hey, by the way, this is the baton. We're handing it to you.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Anyway.
There you go.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to begin with breaking news from Pomona, California, where 2 police officers have been shot, one of them fatally, while responding to reports of a man barricaded inside of an apartment building. Gunshots heard just before 10 p.m. You hear them there after witnesses say they saw a man crash a pickup truck and then run into a 2-story apartment building there in Pomona. Officers responding, carrying away one of their fellow wounded officers. SWAT teams on the scene right now this morning with the suspect believed to still be inside that building. Here in New York City, a federal judge has sentenced former drug executive Martin Shkreli to 7 years behind bars, the so-called Pharma Bro, known for hiking the price of a life-saving AIDS drug by 5,000%, when he headed a pharmaceutical company, also known for his swaggering demeanor, breaking down